using rubber-coated steel bullets. Because of this, young Ahab here, who's 13 years old, caught a rubber bullet in the head. It penetrated his skull and was lodged in his brain. He was unconscious in a coma for about 2 weeks, and after which time he lost vision in one of his eyes. This is as Bridget said, this repression is illegal and it's vehement, and it happens all the time in Nablus. One particular demonstration that sticks out in my mind happened this April. Palestinians and internationals and Israeli activists who came to stood in solidarity with them marched only 50 meters. And after 50 meters, we were met by the Israeli military. They shot at us with rubber-coated steel bullets, the Tempest, which shoots 30 tear gas canisters in 10 seconds, tear gas, all sorts of manners of weapons. However, the Palestinians didn't stop resisting. They made their demonstration. They held their ground for about 3 hours, after which time the Israeli military ran out of ammunition, and they had to make it a hasty retreat. Now, in their hasty retreat, they left behind a pretty interesting piece of garbage. This on the left here is a tear gas canister which holds 400 tear gas rounds. Now, on it, it has the shipping lanes of the tear gas, but more importantly, the manufacturer of the tear gas. Combined Systems Incorporated is an American company. They supply tear gas to many police departments and even the American military, but also the Israeli military. However, the thing is that inside the United States, police departments and the United States military have to adhere to international law. They will always shoot the tear gas in a nice high arc that comes down, and the dispersal effects come from the gas that's actually burned. The tear gas that gets into your eyes makes you nauseous. However, Israel doesn't do this. They will shoot it directly at demonstrators. A 40-millimeter bullet, pretty much, surging at people's heads. This thing weighs probably about a pound or two, and it's caused a lot of damage. It's maimed people, it's killed people. Now, if this were to happen in the United States, public outcry would be rampant. However, it's just forgotten about in Palestine. And this is just an example of neoliberal capitalism, the immorality of neoliberal capitalism taking precedence over international law, human rights, and morality. Combined Systems Incorporated is exploiting the occupied Palestinian territories because of its massive consumption of tear gas. It's profiting exponentially. Like Dow Chemical, who exploited the lax laws in Bhopal and the ineptitude of the policymakers there. Combined Systems Incorporated does the same thing inside the occupied Palestinian territories. However, it's not just multinationals coming in and exploiting the OPT as a market. They also use it as a testing ground. On the right here is called the long-range acoustic device. This emits a high-frequency sound that causes headaches, pain, confusion, and nausea in those that it hits. I believe it made its debut in the mid-2000s, 2003, if I'm not mistaken, in Berlin. And it was used here for a few months. However, it didn't make its debut in North America until 2009, last September, in Pittsburgh, poignantly the masters of globalization, the G20 demonstrations. But it's not just multinationals. Israel is also exploiting the West Bank and Gaza. There are Israeli commandos who are putting on trainings in the United States for police departments. Surveillance, security devices are being tested here and then exported throughout the whole world to suppress popular uprisings and social movements the world over. Now, what do these violations of international law look like? Well, as I told you, they use tear gas canisters as bullets. On the left here, we have an Israeli-American citizen who worked with the International Solidarity Movement. She was at a demonstration the day of the flotilla attacks that went from Ramallah to Kalandia checkpoint. A checkpoint that goes, one of the largest checkpoints that goes from the West Bank. It's in between Ramallah and Jerusalem. She was standing at the demonstration watching the events unfold. 2 tear gas canisters landed on either side of her. The third found her left eye, which later had to be removed. This is a Palestinian from Jaffa who was demonstrating at the nonviolent demonstration in Berlin. He was shot with a tear gas canister in the head that fractured his skull. And last year, Bassem El-Fio Abu Harama was shot with a high-velocity tear gas canister. These were created to penetrate concrete walls. They can go up to 400 meters, and after that they have another propellant in them that propels them another 400 meters. However, he was shot from 10 meters away. It opened up a 7-centimeter hole in his chest, and he later died. These are just a few examples. Now, this is just the repression that happens during demonstrations. However, there is a lot of the repression that happens in between them. The organizers of the demonstration in Nablus now have demolition orders for their houses. It was stayed for 30 days, but now, anytime, since the beginning of August, they could have their homes demolished. But it also takes other forms.
Also what we saw happen late last year was an extreme escalation in the crackdown on the growing popular resistance inside the West Bank. I think this is largely due to the fact that, as Ryan mentioned, Israel really hasn't figured out a tactic for dealing with popular nonviolent resistance. And I think this is because nonviolent resistance really has the potential to completely delegitimize the violent occupation. It exposes the Israeli occupation for its violence and its violations of human rights, while it champions the Palestinian cause for the nonviolent movement that it is. And what we really saw happen was an escalation in the arrests of Palestinian grassroots organizers, popular committee members, community leaders, etc., etc., people involved in the community trying to help them resist in the best capacity that they had. Israel simply rounded them up in a series of night raid operations and locked them away in their prisons. This is a photograph of a very close friend and colleague of mine, Wael al-Faqih. He's a member, the head of the Nablus Popular Committee. And he and I worked very closely together on many projects, coordinating the annual olive harvest, when international activists will join with Palestinian farmers to go to their fields to try and access their lands and harvest their crops. Many tree planting actions, including one that I remember included olive tree donations from the Dundee Council, because Dundee is, of course, twinned with Nablus.